Good morning. Welcome to The Rush on WHFH 88.5 FM Flossmoor. I'm Eric Theodore here with Dylan Barnes. We got some interesting sports topics today, starting out mostly with Brian Flores and his suit of the NFL in regards to the Rooney Rule, which is a 2003 interview requirement for NFL teams to interview at least one minority coach for a high position, specifically head coach, and it's failed tremendously.
Brian Flores, the most recent offendee of this rule, he was going to be interviewed for the Bills, not the Bills, the
Giants
job. Thank you. And Brian Dabble of the Bills, same name but different last name, same first name, different last name. Brian Dabble ended up getting the job, but through some texts that were released from Patriots head coach Bill Belichick, the Giants had already promised Brian Dabble the job before they even interviewed Brian Flores. So they were just interviewing Flores for the Rooney Rule, which the Rooney Rule, it's only like really happened once before, which was in 2003 with the Lions, but this wasn't like as egregious as it is today.
Yeah, it was pretty much guaranteed Brian Dabble was getting the job. He followed his former assistant general manager, Joe Schoen, to New York.
Yep.
And apparently there was like already a power struggle between the new general manager and owner John Mara. Apparently the owner of the team itself actually wanted to hire Brian Flores, but was, I guess, upstaged by his new GM, Joe Schoen. And I mean, it's the whole problem with it is the empty interviews.
Yeah.
I mean,
like, it's just like, if you're not gonna, if your sole purpose of the interview is to fulfill a requirement for a rule, then I feel like that rule shouldn't. I feel like that interview should be null and void. I feel like you should have to try and actively make a push to get that coach.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, it's why waste somebody's time knowing you're not going to give them the job?
Exactly.
That's my issue with the Rooney Rule. I think 1,000% there needs to be more minority coaches in the NFL.
Right.
But the problem is the Rooney Rule just isn't fixing it.
It's really not.
It's
if anything, it's just making the interviewing of minority head coaches more of a tedious requirement that nobody wants to do.
Yeah,
Because yes, Brian Flores is a great coach. Heck, look at even Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin, if he put up with Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell for however long he did, I don't know what he did to make them calm down and not act like absolute lunatics like they do now, but he somehow did it, and in my opinion, he's one of the main reasons that the Steelers have been good for so long.
Yeah. I mean, he's never had a losing season.
Right. I don't get why there's this there's this idea that if you're not an old white guy, you can't be a good NFL head coach. Because that's what it seems like, at least to me.
Yeah. I mean, it's a reflection of the demographics of the ownership group.
Exactly.
And I mean, I know as NFL fans, we have a tendency to come for Roger Goodell and blame him for all of our problems, he's really just an employee of the owners. The 32 owners in the NFL are the most powerful people, or 31, I should say, because I don't really think Jacksonville counts in this situation.
Yeah.
But 31 owners, and they're all old white guys.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think there's one Indian guy.
Yeah, there's Shad Khan.
Yeah,
basically, and he's from Pakistan, but he's London technically, but he's Pakistani, and he's the one of the 32 NFL head coaches who's not just an old white guy.
Yeah,
like
half of them. Yeah, half of them are on the brink of death. But getting back to the Rooney Rule, this is the most serious offense that it's ever seen, because the only the only case was back in 2003, and that was with the Lions. But they didn't they just blew off the whole thing and just gave it to Steve Mariucci,
Yeah.
or Steve Mariucci, and they just didn't interview anybody else.
Right.
But the Giants were interviewing Flores and Dabble and however many other people they were, but they weren't intending to give the job to Flores. They were just interviewing him to meet the rule.
Right.
So
It's just, it feels like a waste of time.
it absolutely is.
There has to be a better way to go about doing this. I mean, like in Denver, Flores has stated John Elway showed up to the interview hungover
Yeah.
and like disheveled and not at all ready to conduct an interview. Like, I think he said it lasted like an hour and a half.
Yeah. Which
And I mean, Mike McDaniel's interview to become head coach of the Dolphins was 10 hours long.
yeah.
And for sure, that also falls under the Rooney Rule. It's just, I feel like NFL teams won't take the incentive because there's just not that culture built around the league.
Exactly.
Which, I mean, there's been some incredibly successful minority coaches like Mike Tomlin, Lovie Smith, who
Yeah.
just got a new head coaching job in Houston.
Which there's a whole different side to the Brian Flores controversy there too,
Yeah.
because he believes that Houston wanted to hire him before he outed the NFL for racial injustice, and now they just pivoted to Lovie Smith.
Yeah, which,
So.
I mean, it's definitely, there's examples of the NFL blackballing people for standing up to their, like, their patriarchal racism, basically.
Yeah.
Like Colin Kaepernick.
Yeah. Like, I don't want to say, like, too much, like, into that.
Right.
Because it happened, like,
Years ago.
8 years ago or something like that.
Right.
But if you're going to tell me that Colin Kaepernick wasn't one of the best, if you're telling me that Colin Kaepernick wasn't better than whoever the Bears had at quarterback for any of those years, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. I
Like-
mean, no one's claiming that Colin Kaepernick was the greatest quarterback on the planet.
Right. But he was better than Mike Glennon.
Yeah. I mean, there were lots of teams that could have used him.
Right.
And it's just kind of the fact that the owners are just, they're okay with this because I don't know. It's just like, it's the culture of the league. I keep saying that, but it's just, it's just,
It is. Like, I don't know what else to say.
yeah. I mean, when you look at like, the NFL is basically just an old boys club.
Yeah.
Like whoever you know, like the amount of Bill Belichick assistants that have gotten,
Hired on to other coaching staffs
Yeah.
as head coaches, or Andy Reid's.
oh, for
Like,
sure.
It's just anybody who came from a good mind, anybody who worked under a good football mind is automatically assumed to be one of the next great head coaches. It doesn't matter who you are. You could be the least qualified person on the planet, but you worked with Bill Belichick, so he might have given you some insider information.
I mean, that's how Josh McDaniels just got his job.
Yeah, well,
So that's irrelevant. That's a topic for another time.
yeah.
But I mean, it's kind of sad to look at. Like, I mean, it kind of makes you wonder, like, about your own team. Like, did the Bears really ever have any intention of going anywhere with, like, Jim Caldwell?
Like, I actually really wanted him. Like,
I did too, personally.
he was in my, I love Eberflus,
yeah,
because,
he's fine.
yeah, like, he's good,
He's gonna
but
be a good coach, but
in my
at the same
opinion,
time,
he wasn't my top one or two choices.
no, I would have taken.
I would have put him third.
I would have put him even behind Dan Quinn. But
It was a toss up between those two.
they're both like the same person.
Yeah.
That's irrelevant. Yeah, I mean, it's you just look at the NFL and it's like, who do you know is more important than what you know.
Yep.
Like, Brian Flores had 2 winning seasons with the Miami Dolphins while they were actively trying to lose.
Yeah. He was offered $100,000 for every loss.
Yeah.
Like, this season, like the 2020, 2021, 2022 season, he was offered $100,000 for every loss in order to get a better draft pick. He said no, because he knew that wasn't right.
Right.
But the fact that they're trying to do that, like, they've had so many losing seasons in the past, 10 years?
Yeah.
I mean,
Basically since
Brady.
Dan Marino left.
Yeah, ever since Tom Brady just became Tom Brady, the AFC East has just been not the best, except for the Patriots. But my point is that the fact that he took the Dolphins from a 2-14 team to a fringe playoff team in 2-3 years.
Yeah.
And if you're going to the playoffs with Ryan Fitzpatrick as your quarterback, honestly, props to you. I mean, he's good, but he's not a quarterback I would. Okay. He's not a quarterback that I would want leading my team into the playoffs.
That Dolphins fits magic. Oh, it's even more impressive when you consider the fact that ownership and executives working for the team were actively attempting to make you lose.
Right.
Not just by offering you $100,000 for every loss, but building your roster to be bad. Basically.
Yeah,
I mean, Will Fuller is wide receiver 1.
Yeah.
Interesting choices.
And they benched Tua, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. I mean, they played, I don't even know who.
Yeah. If you're going to bench your former, what was he, 5th overall pick?
Yeah.
What is the point of that? Yes, he might not have been having the best season right now, but that's the point of playing him, to develop. But if you're going to bench him, I don't know.
I don't think that was just Brian Flores decision.
It didn't seem like it when it happened.
No,
because
the way he was talking about it, absolutely not. I mean, it's kind of just a testament to how good of a coach he is, and he's one of the few off of that Belichick tree that actually can go and implement the Belichick way or the Patriot way at in Miami. He was able to get his players to buy in. And I mean, looking at his qualifications and his performance with Miami, he should have gotten another NFL head coaching job.
Absolutely. And with all the head coaching jobs are filled now.
Yeah.
So unless somebody steps down or is fired, which I doubt that anybody else will before the season, he's not going to be a head coach, which is absolutely shocking. I
mean, he's the most qualified candidate.
Absolutely. He was in my opinion, he was the number one free agent on the market if we're comparing coaches to players, but he was by far the most qualified.
Yep.
He had the most experience out of anybody out there, except for maybe Harbaugh, if you're considering him even a candidate, because he withdrew his own name from the Vikings job.
Yeah.
But the fact that he is not going to be an NFL head coach next year is absolutely wild, and it just shows how the NFL has some serious talking with owners and GMs that they need to do. It's bad.
Most definitely. I mean, the NFL is a deep-rooted problem, a deep-rooted culture problem.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's our time for today. It's 9:15 here on Tuesday morning. I thought it was Monday for a second there. Anyway, we will be back shortly here on The Rush on WHFH 88.5 FM Flossmoor. Thank you all for tuning in. We'll be back again shortly.